Hello again, it's Garson, and this is going to be a bit of a battle guide for the honor mode fight of Myrkul, the Apostle Myrkul. This is custom settings, so I could set this up for you, make it more easily, but we're going to go over this fight in pretty great detail, including a full demonstration unedited. This is going to be a long video, I'm going to talk a lot, so just bear with me, but like I said, let's get right into it, let's have some fun with it. This is the honor battle guide for Apostle of Myrkul, the fight with Ketheric Thorm, Act 2, right? So, big spoilers, watch out. But big thank you to you guys. Like I said, you guys are the ones who requested this. I'm going to dive right into it. This is going to be a long video. I've broken this down. In fact, there's going to be a full unedited demo, and then I'll start breaking it down for you, okay? So let's get into the demo. Just before we get into it, though, I do want to explain some things real quick. This was my team. We're all level 8 here. And we have some equipment here. There's no Doom Hammer. There's no speed potions or anything like that. So check this out. This is all level 8. Just no multi-classing with an Evo Wizard, a Champion Fighter, a Fiend Warlock, and Light Cleric. And this doesn't need to be your team. What we're trying to do is we're not relying on a lot of common things I see. If you want to beat this fight with anything, the way I'm going to show you with the demo is there's no Bone Shield to stop the boss from healing. We're going to do that. We're not relying on Aelin. She's going to soak up some hits, admittedly, but she's not really useful other than that. Over-leveling, we're level 8. Multi-classing, we don't need it. Isabel's resistance, we don't even have that. We're not using buffs that last all day, like the Dark Lady Blessing or the Bliss Spores. We're not using scrolls to get access to spells we shouldn't even have. We're not going to use any speed potions, let alone endless. There's no bombs or baromancy. There's no 2x lightning damage, etc., etc. Let's get the mechanics down so that in honor mode or less, you could use any party, because I want you to beat honor mode. You guys requested this, but you guys want to know how to beat it to the point where you could even solo it like I did with an Arcane Trickster. Let's just get the essentials down, and we'll break down the essentials, but before we do, let's get into a full-on demo with it. Ready? So this is the actual fight. I'm going to talk my way through it. If you want to, you can skip 20 minutes from now. It should be at the 24 minute mark. I do apologize again. This is going to be a long video, and here's why. Because I don't want to edit this fight for you. This is the exact team I showed you. There's no mod usage in the fight. What we're going to do is send off our cleric. She's going to take care of one side, and I'm going to explain all this in detail, but let me kind of commentate it on what we're going into, right? What I'm going to do is start off with a surprise round. And a wizard is great for this. The reason I brought a wizard is because he can just give us spells like invisibility, and everybody on that team right there can use enhanced leap and jump up to the squid. And we really want to take out the squid first. So what we're going to do is jump over. We're getting all our guys in position. Invisibility is going to give us a surprise attack. That's going to give us a free turn. And that we're also going to get advantage on the first swing when we come out of invisibility. So they're surprised. We get this stupid dialogue out of the way. Da, 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 da. I will kill you. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking my swings so my invisibility doesn't run out. Like I said, we get advantage, so there's good reliability that this can work. In the first turn, we can possibly kill this squid. And then we'll send over our cleric. This is our dedicated minion hunter. We'll talk about it in a moment. But I'm going to use Spirit Guardians. This is going to basically wipe out all these skeletons right off the bat. Now, we'll come back over to this side. Do we have any remaining attacks? Let's finish this thing off. So I get a little lucky here. I killed the squid in the surprise round. But remember, with enough initiative, you should be able to finish off the squid even the next turn. As long as you surprised it, no one will take actions against you in the first turn. And this is really the best way to start the fight, because that squid is extremely dangerous. It can mind control, it could charm, it could just really mess up the flow of your combat, when in reality, Ketheric does not get off the donut. I know it sounds pretty hilarious, but he does not jump off the circle in the middle of the arena. So we have all the time in the world. Now we're going to go ahead and focus on taking care of the minions. So we're going to go ahead, throw these guys off. If you don't already know it, Ketheric has the ability to turn any of these minions, including the Necromites, into more Necromites. We don't want that. So if we just throw them off into the lake, they'll never come back. And that's really important. It helps us control phase 1. And phase 1 really is the easier phase to control if we get the beginning down and right. I'm going to save Aelin a little early. I'd actually recommend just to leave her alone until everything's cleaned up, but she can help clean up the minions. Like I said, Spirit Guardians was great because it just cleaned out all those Necromites in the first turn. I'm even going to run by Ketheric, get a little damage like that, and I'm going to run off. Now I can help clean up the other minions on this side. And these minions are currently far away enough from Ketheric, but now that he's closer, he's going to start turning them into resurrected necromite. Even the little brain guys will turn into necromites. You can see one pop up in just a moment. I believe Aylin's going to kill one of them. So Aylin's going to help take care of these guys. The reason I don't want her in the fight just yet is because it's a lot easier to just chuck these guys in the lake. But all the same, we're under so much control right now that even though some of these guys pop back up as necromites, we can take care of them before they're even hatched, before the incubation's done. So we're just going to break them. They're weak to bludgeoning, they're weak to radiant damage, and they pretty much die to Eldritch Blast as well. So that's what we're going to do. And once all these minions are cleared out, what's going to happen is Ketheric just doesn't get off the donut. So we can just let Aylin do something really important for us, but we don't need to rely on Aylin. I want you to know that Aylin's going to go ahead and take some hits. Right now would be the time whoever's going to step up to the plate and face Ketheric off, they can take the hits. Because if he takes the hits now, he's going to smite, he's going to waste his resources smiting them, so he can't smite in a dangerous position later when he's Myrkul, and he can sweep about 3 targets with his scythe and smite every single one of them. How about we just let him smite Aylin or whoever's tanking it right now? So he will only ever attack somebody up on that donut. So that's why I let everybody just chill out. We'll just take care of these minions as they pop up. We'll just let Aylin soak the hits. If we wanted to, let's say it was our character instead of Aylin, we could just heal ourselves. No big deal. And they can just keep taking the swings. And once I've got this phase 1 so under control, like I said, we're going to find the optimal time where we can set up the first round of phase 2 with the Apostle. So Ketheric's wasting all his divine smites, his branding smites on Aylin. If it was our guy instead of Aylin, I would just throw out some heals because there's no bone chill right now. This is when you want to take the big hits because you're going to take them one way or another. In most cases. And then I can get more reliable damage like Eldritch Blast. I can run up there with a little bit of Spirit Guardians cheesing, and so on and so forth. My Evocation Wizard can just drop cantrips because they always do at least half damage. There we go. So this is going to be really important. My Warlock is the character who's going to blind Myrkul in the second half, and we really want the blind. I'll talk about it in a little bit when we break down the fight, but I'm going to go ahead and Eldritch Blast him now. But now that he's getting so down low to HP, I'm just actually going to just chill out for a second, because next round I don't want the guy who's going to cast Darkness or blind Myrkul, whoever's dedicated to that. What I'm going to do is make sure they have their action ready to blind the boss on the first turn, right? So I'm also going to use my other characters. If I can get him reliably hit, I can start the next phase and still have some actions to take. So I don't mind casting a little bit of attack here, where I'll run it up with the cleric and I'll knock him out with the passive damage in the area. Ready? Boom. All right, now we're going to jump to phase 2. Skip through the cutscene again. All right, now we're phase 2. The very first thing I want to do, this is why I saved his action, I didn't Eldritch Blast, is Warlocks have the wonderful ability to cast Darkness twice per short rest. So let's cast that. Hey, I'm a Drow. I can also cast it again as a racial. I'm going to put Darkness down, but the point here is I'm blinding him, and blinding does a lot to him. Just while we're sitting here, I'll let you know, blind makes it so we have advantage on our attacks against him, making it easier to hit him and damage him. We can go all in. He has disadvantage when trying to swing at our tank, who's going to be dedicated standing on the donut, and he cannot use his ranged attack to willy-nilly zap people with necrotic damage and frighten them, because that would really break our flow and ruin our ability to control the matchup. Okay, so now we're going to take our dedicated fighter to go in there. I'll explain these roles in a little bit in further detail. Again, you don't have to build my team, but look at what I'm trying to do. So, he's blind. He's not going to throw out a range attack. There's somebody in the donut, so he's not going to try and absorb or suck everybody into the middle. As long as there's one person in the middle arena with him, all he can do is just try to flail his scythe and try and hit us. But this is a really important step we'll talk about. I need a dedicated character that always can hit Myrkul on the first thing every single turn. So I use Clouded Daggers. This always hits, and if it does at least 1 point of damage, he shoots at me. I take the hit, I'm frightened, but I don't care that I'm frightened. That's inevitable unless I had a dedicated way to take care of it. If I don't, not every team has that, but if I have a dedicated way to always hit him, right? If a very reliable way to hit him, I'll get frightened on that first guy. Everybody else is not going to take the reaction attack. And so now I can bring in Eldritch Blaster. I can bring in the big swinger and hit him with the big hammer attacks, right? All in. I have advantage because he's blind. And we'll just keep swinging. And even though I have 75% accuracy, I miss half the time. But it doesn't matter, because if we control the fight, all that matters is we can whittle him down and win a war of attrition against him and the Necromites. Okay, now we have a dedicated minion hunter going at it again, positioning themselves, always looking for a minion that is nearby and going to potentially heal Ketheric or Myrkul if they get in close. So we're going to position ourselves in a way that we think, okay, if they come this way, I can slow them down or kill them, and they won't resurrect anymore. They'll keep coming, but we can always destroy them if we know what we're doing. So Aelin wants to go at it again. Something I could point out with Aelin right now, and this is what I was trying to say, every time she smites, she's not doing 1 damage, she's doing 2 instances of damage. That means that 2 magical plating, the magical plating from Ketheric's armor, and Myrkul adopts that. That means Aelin is actually losing not 2 damage every hit, but 4 damage, maybe 6 damage every hit. So every time there's an instance of damage, we don't like that. We're losing 2 damage for every instance of damage. Something like Magic Missile or Eldritch Blast or Scorching Ray always takes 2 less damage per hit. So we really want big swings like our Great Weapon Master user on the melee battlefield. So if that's the case, even though I could do some extra damage to the boss, I'm going to opt to have my Eldritch Blaster here. He's going to look around and say, wait, let me get rid of these skeletons first. That has the higher priority. If they're close enough, let me just spend my Eldritch Blast reliably zapping these things, because they're always 100% attack roll with things like Eldritch Blast or whatever. So I can go ahead, keep my fighter on the boss. I can keep hitting him, swinging him. Even if I'm missing with all Great Weapon Master, it doesn't matter. I want the biggest hits possible, because if I am going to hit, I want to hit big. Otherwise it gets mitigated. So got to balance a little bit of attack roll and damage. All right. So I did take a hit. I did get smited. This is what I was trying to mention. So you are going to take hits in this fight with your tank, but it's okay if you got a lot of those smites out of the way. It won't be as dangerous. If you don't have everybody up there in the arena, just one guy dedicated, okay with getting hit every once in a while, and can walk away, heal, and come back, right? So once again, I'm going to prioritize, Now, I was about to make a mistake here. I stopped. Remember, I'm going to drill this into you. You always want the guy who's dedicated to attack first. Bait out the frighten, boom, heal up. Now everybody's free to attack him. So when you've got a clear shot at Myrkul, make sure you're a dedicated guy. Or if you have a way of taking care of that frighten, it's all good. But this is one of the best ways I've ever dealt with it. And now my Eldritch Blaster can just freely attack him and the minion. I'm going to go in with a hammer again. Swing as much as I can. Make sure just turn off tenacity. It's not going to do. It's going to be so little damage, it doesn't matter. So again, I just want a big swing. And now I took so much damage from that smite. I'll walk away. I get out of the bone chill. I'm going to go back in there, but I knew I was going to take hits, so I have enough movement speed to get out of there. Heal up, walk back into the bone chill area, and bait the tank hit, or tank the hits. So now I'm going to recast Spirit Guardians. Spirit Guardians, by the way, one of the best control spells for this fight for the minions, because as you can see on the left-hand side, I know the pathing. There's only one way up to that arena for these minions to heal him, so I'm going to block that off. Spirit Guardians not only does damage to these guys when they walk into it, they does damage on the start of my turn if they're in it, and it's going to slow them down. So once again, I'm more than likely going to dodge hits. If I do take a hit, no big deal. I'll just walk away, heal, come back up. Because he's blinded, he can't reaction attack me. Walks in. He's going to attack Aelin, who cares? Honestly, these Necromites really aren't that dangerous once the situation's under control. Even if they attack your guys, as long as you have some healing methods or a little bit of reliability. So again, do not attack. Make sure the guaranteed hit can come in. Guarantee that hit. He retaliates. I go, okay, no big deal. I heal up again with a potion. No problem. Now, again, my Eldritch Blaster. I'm going to decide, okay, this guy's getting a little close. Maybe I should take out one of the minions. So I try and get greedy and hit both. Honestly, most of the times, especially with an Eldritch Blast, just blast 2 of them. Or blast the same target. Just make sure one target's out. But I knew I had coverage with my Hunter. Or I should say my minion Hunter, my Cleric. Now, another cool thing about Spirit Guardians, just while we're watching it, I'm going to walk up here, get more value out of it, walk near Ketheric, and walk away. Might as well get the extra damage since I'm a level 4 Spirit Guardian right now. And now, again, we're open, there's no minions nearby, we don't have to prioritize, so we'll keep swinging as hard as we can. And your characters, realistically, in most runs, you should have way heavy hitters than I do. This fight should be over in half the time, but I appreciate you. I know this is a longer, just full-on demo, but like I said, I wanted to show it before I broke it down so you know this is legit. I'm not editing or skipping this. I'm not going to redirect you to another video. So I really appreciate you guys being here watching this. If you like the channel, stick around to the end of the video, support it. But really the best support is if this is helping you beat honor mode, I'm happy you're here. All right, so now we have one of our Necromites getting in close. So even the tank now will prioritize the minion so he doesn't get the heal. We don't care if Aelin goes down. Like I said, we're not really relying on her, especially in phase 2. It's just a happy coincidence she's here eating up some hits. These guys have to go down this ladder and then get up to this ladder in the donut. So they're walking right into my trap. They're going to get stuck there, and then my Cleric can just bop them with a bludgeoning hammer, which they're weak to. And it gets, Spirit Guardians also gets rid of the Agathis armor, so that's nice too. So like I said, I'm going to prioritize one of my attacks on the nearby minion, even with the hammer guy. And then I'm going to hit for the boss one more time. I'm going to get the priority to hit. That's why I didn't strike just yet. Remember, you're going to throw out the guaranteed hit, bait out the reaction attack. No big deal. And I'm going to keep hunting minions. I'm going to look around, see if that priority. Otherwise, I'll use the Eldritch Blast or the range attacks to just keep wailing on the boss. Ba-boom. All right. So yeah, now that we know, let me go ahead and heal up. It's more important that I heal, stay alive, get my one melee guy to really stay reliably healthy, and then walk back in and go for some extra strikes. But like I said, even if something's off and the reaction attack didn't happen to your dedicated guy, just go ahead, focus on minions, right? You do not need to attack the boss as long as the situation is under control, and you will chip him down with things like Spirit Guardians and other damaging spells, or Clouded Daggers is still up, for instance, and so on and so forth. Maybe Aelin might even get a lucky strike in. Alright. And now we got another minion getting in close again, so he's going to be our priority. We got another one walking in from the side here. But the thing is, you'll notice, if they dash and they do get it to the arena, it takes them an action point in order to get eaten up, so to speak, to heal Myrkul, to sacrifice themselves. So a dash is also an action point. That means they wasted their turn and won't heal. So if the distance is great enough, you get a feel for this when you fight this guy enough time, but if the distance is great enough, these minions have to spend a whole nother turn to get to him, and then they'll heal the next turn. So that gives you a whole nother turn to deal with them in case you might have goofed up or didn't prioritize correctly. Now on the left side, we're really good because they have to deal with it. They have to get past our Cleric here. I'm actually going to make sure the reactions were set correctly for this moment. That way I can get a free reaction attack if they pass me by. But like I said, Spirit Guardians is going to slow them down, and I'm going to go ahead and bop them. The first thing I do, usually, try to remember this, I even have to remind myself, attack him with the guaranteed attacker. Bait out the attack, get the frighten, heal up, and you're good to go. You can do whatever you want now, right? Trust me, I forgot so many times. I just want to share that. That alone is like the best tip. Okay, so again, I'm going to prioritize. I had a chance to beat up the skeleton because he used his turn with the dash. I still end up getting 2 hits in thanks to Great Weapon Master. That's pretty cool. Still miss half the time, but whatever. You'll do way better than me, trust me. And then, like I said, Spirit Guardians is going to mop these guys up. I can also get a little weapon strike in with my Cleric, but I'm going to use Light Cleric's area ability to wipe out a few extra. It's just the nice thing about having a light cleric in here with Spirit Guardians. Seems like everybody's used up their turn pretty wisely. I'm going to use my Spirit Guardians a little more. There we go. Come back out. He can't reaction attack me because he's blinded once again. So a lot of this stuff I'm going to show you in the breakdown is going to come together in this way. There we go. And he still snuck out an extra smite in there. It was pretty crazy. So that's why you want to stay healthy. You want to prioritize staying healthy, getting the minions out of the way. If you can outlast him with your heals and whatnot, because you've got it all under control, then he's just going to lose. So this is basically, we got one guy got in. He still got the heal, right? And we didn't bone chill him. We don't have the Doom Hammer. So he still ended up getting something in. Oh my gosh, the strategy's not working. Don't panic. We are getting so close to him being defeated. We can smell blood in the water. So what we're going to now do is actually shift gears on the final stretch and actually finish him off. We're not going to worry about the minions anymore. Sometimes it's a bit of a gambit. I would still go another extra round, but I've done this fight enough times. I knew, okay, we can probably just finish this guy off. I'm going to bait out the reaction attack one more time. Now everybody's free to go in, all in, and wail on him. If you had speed potions right now, this is the time to do it. I'm going to swing, miss, like naturally half the time. But I get a nice crit as a refund, and because I crit, I get a great weapon master like it never happened. Boom. Alright, now I'm going to go in for an Eldritch Blast. Screw the minions. It's time to finish this guy off. Boom. And now we get the free hits from the Spirit Guardians no matter what. It's always going to do damage. And Light Cleric's attack also always at least does half damage. Boop. And that was the Myrkul fight. And like I said, I really appreciate you because I did not want to skip any of this stuff. Let's get right into the notes. I know this is a long video, so again, I'm glad you're here. And I'll show you what I mean by those essentials. Let's break it down. I'm going to show you in the breakdown a little bit more of what I'm talking about here. But essentials, let's look at them. So basically, I need the guaranteed hitter I was talking about. I think you get it. And honestly, if I had a highest recommendation, you really want Air Elemental. So if you find a scroll, definitely save this at least for this fight. I love Air Elemental because this attack right here, this is not the accuracy. This is the chance to do the whatever effect. So these two shots will always hit Myrkul. And the great thing about Air Elemental is it always has high initiative, right? At least compared to the boss. You can give it a Vigilance Elixir if you really want to, but it also resists a lot of attacks. It's just a tanky champion to put on your team. And yeah, if you always remember this guy or a dedicated character who can throw out maybe Cloud of Daggers or a Fireball always does half damage to Myrkul, these are the things you want, because if you at least do 1 damage to Myrkul, you'll draw out his Frighten reaction. And if you get frightened, but you're using spells or attacks that always do at least 1 damage and always hit, you don't care about this. You'll just heal up. So you still hit with Frighten, no big deal. Idealistically, you have necrotic resistance from Isabel or an elixir or something. But otherwise, you want a high initiative. You want this character always go first. I made this overkill. 12 initiatives not needed, but 5, 6, 7, that's really where you're comfortable. You want guaranteed 100% to hit. Like I said, Cloud of Daggers is one of my recommendations. I even went Evocation Wizard, and I took a feat to take Sacred Flame because there really wasn't a cantrip that would work with Evocation 6, but that's a little more technical details. I'm just saying you got to have this down. 100% hit with at least 1 damage. This was my backup in case I needed it, but I was really relying on these spells that always do at least 1 damage, okay? So Air Elemental, highest recommendation, but otherwise find something like Cloud of Daggers. A reliable blind is our second really good essential thing we need for any party to defeat this boss. Blind does way too much for us, and darkness really is the best thing to use here. It gives Myrkul disadvantage against your one little melee guy standing there baiting out his attacks so he doesn't try to pull everybody in. And then the attacks against him are going to have advantage, so we can use heavy hitting stuff like Great Weapon Master with the accuracy loss because we can go all in with advantage. And no reaction when you're walking away means you can heal and get out of that bone chill arena, right? So that's really important here. No reaction, all of this just from blind. He's still also, because he can't move around the arena, he's stuck in one spot. When he is blinded, he can't walk up and use his range spell against you. So that's also another thing, just something I've seen. He literally cannot use this, even though he can use his dangerous legendary heal reaction, or he can use his reaction attack from baiting it out, right? But for some reason, can't use this because he's blinded. So darkness, again, is extremely good. Arcane Archer now has the shadow arrow. That's very reliable too. But the point I want to really make here is this circle, the center of this spell should always be somewhere within the light green circle if you want to blind him with this spell. It's a detail I cannot stress enough. I've put it on the outer rim here in the dark circle, or even where Ketheric is, and you don't get the blind even though most of this circle is still in here. So you need the center of where you're casting this to be in this lighter green area, okay? That should really help you out if you use the darkness method. So you really want to blind Myrkul. Darkness arrows also work. Even if you miss the arrow, the darkness cloud will hit his face for 2 turns and blind him. So this is also a great alternative. So melee tank. So I technically have 2 characters that could tank. I guess the cleric could also do it, but that's really not what I set up the cleric to do in this fight. I basically did a little bit of roll compression, so my fighter who hits big is also my tank, and we need to have a tank because if no melee targets, Myrkul is going to draw in everybody, and I'll show you that in the no-no area, right? What not to do. This is very bad. So if we have no melee targets, he's going to pull everybody in, and it's just not good. It's going to break the flow and the control of the fight. So at least 1 ally, and it really should only be 1 because the scythe can sweep and hit everybody right here and potentially smite all 3 of them if he has smites. So you really want some decent, maybe 18 or higher for honor mode, tactician, reliable armor class, good HP. You don't want to be a pure wizard for this, or you want to enhance your HP somehow. And you need some of the movement. I have long strider for my wizard, but you need movement in order to walk away, get off the arena, get out of the bone chill so you can heal, and then you need to walk back to tank the hit next turn. So Myrkul can smite even if Ketheric has not. If he has not wasted the smites, you're gonna get hit big even by the Myrkul swipe. Other than the smites, you really don't take a lot of damage. So our own dedicated character is better for this. I would not rely on Aelin. Aelin is just going to be a dummy that you can use, or maybe if you change the course of your story, you won't even have this. This is why I want you to understand you should really have a dedicated character for this, in my opinion. Next, we have a big hitters. Honestly, a few of these guys are pretty big hitters, like Warlock is using the potent robes, so of course we can hit pretty big with our cantrip, Eldritch Blast, and Agonizing Blast. And then we have the Great Weapon Master. So we're going to talk about resistances and whatnot, but basically Myrkul always negates 2 damage for every instance of damage. So if you were to use, say, something like Magic Missile or something like that, you're not going to have a good time. Even Eldritch Blast, every single beam of the Eldritch Blast, this shoots 2 beams, that means you're losing 4 damage rather than 2. That's why you want to hit big as you can per beam, or you come in and you hit really hard with a Great Weapon Master attack that adds 10 damage. You have high strength bonus and so on and so forth. Your magical attacks, bludgeoning, you got to really know what his resistances are, so pay attention. Magical bludgeoning overcomes the physical bludgeoning resistance. Force damage is not resisted, so it's actually a really good choice. All of your fancy pants archer and arrow builds are actually really bad at this fight in most part, unless they're using the Never Misser. And a necrotic, unless you're the death domain, do not use necrotic damage. So you really want good attack rolls. Just a small caveat, I have dark vision on my Gith here. Even in the melee range, apparently Gith and humans still suffer disadvantage. So maybe try and pay attention to that. But overall, you want good attack rolls from having the bonuses to your weapon. And you also want good attack rolls for maybe an enchantment as well. And then there is also the Oil of Accuracy, so we can get a +1 on that on the weapon for 10 turns. But you want to be able to hit, but even if you don't, as long as you have somewhat reliable hitting, right? This way we don't get frightened. This is why we want to bait out the reaction tech we were talking about with the dedicated hitter. So the big hitter should probably not be the dedicated hitter, so you don't take the frightened status and then have bad accuracy. But if you do have good accuracy, you want really big single hits. Sharpshooter would be good, but like I said, piercing's not good. So we really want Great Weapon Master feat, so we can go all in with a big heavy weapon. We don't want to add multiple damage types, because a single damage type, the more we stack a single hit of bludgeoning, that's going to do better from all these bonuses. If we had, say, the Falar Alluve or lightning charges, all these additional add-ons from lightning and thunder are just going to get mitigated down from, say, 1 damage gets mitigated by 2, or 3 damage, you only did 1 additional damage. So you really want to focus in on the single type of damage and hit as hard as you can. So I can't stress this enough. Multiple smaller hits like Magic Missile are just not going to cut it, especially trying the tricks with lightning charges and Falar Alluve with Magic Missile. This is not the way to go in this fight. So Minion Hunter, this is our last essential role. Minion Hunter, I chose my Light Cleric because I could get things like speed, freedom of movement, so I can't be slowed down by whatever spells or attacks, but really it's the Spirit Guardians, and I can also save some of my allies with Sanctuary. But overall, Myrkul's going to heal if he lets a Necromite. We saw that during the demo. So once per turn, these guys can use their own action, not Myrkul's reaction, but their own action to heal Myrkul and sacrifice themselves. And this is going to grant him an even deadlier ranged spell. So you really, really don't want this. So it can be used even if he's blinded. He can use this deadly spell. Even if he's blinded, they can sacrifice himself. So we really want to cut these guys down with what they're vulnerable to bludgeoning, and their little like skeleton pods when they're incubating are weak to radiant and bludgeoning. So piercing is not good against the eggs or incubation, but you can use your dedicated ranged archer or whatever against the actual necromites themselves, because if we take a look at them, they're not actually resistant to anything, and they're weak to bludgeoning. But again, don't bring necrotic, don't bring poison damage into this fight. Okay, so that really covers all the essentials of what your team needs. Again, you can look towards my team, but the whole point of this video is let's break it down so you could do it yourself. And what about the actual phase and fight? How did you use this team set up these essentials? Let's actually look at some clips. I'm not the best editor. I appreciate you guys watching. Let me just jump into this. I'll try and show you what I mean. First, we're going to start off with the squid. I'll keep the notes up in these clips. Here we go. And I'm going to put this out. All right, so we have the surprise attack. What I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to send off my cleric, my minion hunter, to deal with the necromites exclusively. These three guys need to jump attack or surprise attack the squid. So what I'm going to do is, like I said from earlier in the beginning of the demo, the same method. I'm going to give myself the ability to get up on that platform and go to town and beat up the squid in a surprise attack that will give me a free round of combat. So I use stealth and invisibility to jump up there or fly up there. Whatever you got to use, these are the things we need. So we need either stealth or invisibility to get the free surprise round. When we attack him, that gives us a whole free attack turn. And then we want jump or fly, any method to get up there and beat him up, because honestly, it's kind of better to go melee up here and get the range advantage later. So just like before, we start off fighting with the squid, and we really want to take this guy out because he can have some deadly control spells that can really ruin the fight and just throw the whole flow off. If we kill this guy ahead of time in the beginning of the fight, we're good to go. And we're also going to go ahead and remove the necromites. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it's related because we'll have our other character, our minion hunter. The cleric went over here and started the fight with spirit guardians, right? So let's go ahead and move on to the next clip here. We have the minions themselves. So I'm going to clean up the minions. We took care of the squid, right? Now I'm going to remove the minions, and Ketheric does not leave that donut. I was describing it earlier, so just don't go up there. You can actually just clean up the minions. He won't bother you. He'll try and make more skeletons, but if you're so fast at cleaning up all the minions, or you take care of them by throwing them into the lake, you're good to go, right? So removing the necromites and the little brain guys, ideally away from Ketheric. He won't passively make them into more incubation, skeletal eggs, whatever they're called, right? So honestly, the best way you could deal with them is just take a high strength character and throw them into the lake. I love doing this. It looks hilarious. I'm going to do it right here for you. Throw them into the lake. That way they're far, far away. He can't revive them as more necromites, right? So let's dive into the next clip here. Next up, we're going to look at Aelin. We're going to save Aelin now. Personally, I'll save Aelin once everything's done and Ketheric is alone. It's really simple, but just remember you're going to have to be next to her and use an action. I know there's times where, depending on your story, you may not have Aelin in the fight, but otherwise, if she is, you can't kill Ketheric anyway. It's worth stating, you know, it's just a point here. He's invincible until you free her, right? So we're also going to keep disposing of any kind of minions he spawns, and now it's probably the best time to soak up those smites I was talking about. So we'll have actually Aelin do it for us. This is the nice one thing she can do for us, right? Stay off of the donut, Like I said, he won't do anything other than try to make more minions, one per turn. But if somebody's up there, like Aelin, who's dedicated, can take the rounds, take the hits, he's going to try and double smite with branding and divine stacked on top of each other. It'll hit stupidly big. Don't try to stop it if it's Aelin. Don't even try to stop it in general. This means he cannot use them in Myrkul, so if you actually wipe him out, you can take all the time in the world in this phase now and just get rid of these, okay? So now we're going to keep your blinder available because we're getting down towards the start of phase 2. So let me pull up this, and here we go. What I'm getting at here is the guy who's dedicated to blinding, like my warlock. He can cast darkness 3 times. So even if I lost concentration, I could have it. But I want to start the next phase with Myrkul blind because we talked about how much this really helps the fight. So now that we're kind of winding down of phase 1, Ketheric is almost dead. I'm going to use a little passive damage and 1 lucky strike, but I have my action ready now that I'm going to go ahead and use my warlock. The very first thing I do this phase is blind Ketheric. And like I said, it has to be inside that red circle where Myrkul is. So I have to cast this at the center inside that red circle. So it's a big detail I just want to gloss over and over again. All right, so blinder should be not wasting their action attacking near the end of phase 1 going into phase 2. So when you start phase 2, you can start with the blind, and then you can obviously end the phase by killing Ketheric, and it'll bring us into phase 2. So now with the blind up, we're in phase 2, and we've started off excellently. Let's actually start off with the first strike, and we'll remember this every single turn. So we immediately are going to cause blind to Myrkul, which won't cause reaction attacks when walking away. It'll blind him, blah, blah, blah. But we now need to have the high initiative guy who's guaranteed to hit every single time with like clouded daggers, or maybe it's the air elemental. This guy is going to go ahead, land a strike. We're going to eat the frighten ranged attack, even though he's blind, but that's good because now he can't do it to anybody in the rest of the turn. So we'll have him always go first, take the hit, heal up, and even though he's frightened and has disadvantage, it doesn't matter because he can still guaranteed hit with clouded daggers or something like that. So this is always just an amazing thing to have in the battle. Now we have, move it on. Now that he's baited out the attack, we can actually go in and strike really hard. So this is where, once we've baited the reaction attack, he's not going to do it to anybody else like I did right there, right? So now we're free to go in and take anybody who can do really solid big hits to Myrkul, and there's no necromites around. We're going to go in and try and slam him with Great Weapon Master, Fighter, Eldritch Blaster, all that sorts of stuff, right? Let's just go in with Action Surge, slam him, and we do big damage, especially if we crit, right? So this is now the time you want to do this, but we'll also have to pay attention with the minion hunter. At least one dedicated guy running around hunting it is what I find really helps this out. So let's take a look. Running around, how do we deal with these guys? Once again, we have a minion hunter. So in both phases, this character is paying out because we can go ahead, have a dedicated bludgeoning weapon, radiant weapon, whatever we need running around, and our ranged character or one of our big heavy hitters can change priorities and start taking out these skeletal eggs. That way we don't have to have the boss end up healing, and the heal isn't the dangerous part so much as he's going to do a very nasty, dangerous attack. So if we knock these guys out, reprioritize, and then when he's alone for a turn, we can go all in. So the hitter and tank can also prioritize minions is what I'm getting at here. I'll give you another clip with this. Here we go. Because now what we're going to do is show you with the healing, right? So with the tank, like I was saying just a second ago, sorry, a little off. The tank can also prioritize minions as they get closer, but we saw that in the demo. What I really want to stress is if you're in that area next to the boss, in the donut area, you more than likely have bone chill and can't heal. So your tank also wants the ability to walk away, heal up. When they walk back, they have bone chill again, so you need to know what you're trying to do with these characters and prioritize and know, should I go after a minion? Should I move my character around? Should I heal up? Should I get out of it? And so on and so forth. And that really does it. You're just going to move out of range to heal and then return to melee range. And honestly, as you saw with the demo, that's going to be it. That's how you beat him. But before I leave you, we just have some quick, like, funny clips. I'm going to show you some no-nos. And I've personally done this in honor mode. I've learned them the hard way. It's what I love about honor mode. But let's just have some fun with it. There's a whole bunch. They're probably out of order, but let's just check it out. So Ketheric really hurts, right? do not engage Ketheric on the donut. This is what I was trying to say about phase 1. So he's easy just to hit at range, and sometimes you can just let Aelin soak up some of those smites. I really think this is the best way to go about it. Have someone dedicated to soak up the smite attacks so he won't have them in phase 2. But look how hard this guy freaking hurts, man. Okay. Let's look at some other fun no-nos. Let's see. Alright, so now we have some donut safety. So, here we go. As you can see, you just don't let the minions near Myrkul and whatnot, and we could deal with them. Don't forget to, you know, deal with all these minions. So the funny thing is, with Ketheric on the donut, he won't attack. You can see here, I'm not lying to you. Once you've cleaned up phase 1, and there's nobody there for him to attack, you can literally just clean up minions, because this is all he's going to do, and this would just go on for like another minute if I kept showing it to you. Alright, and now we have don't stand. Oh yeah, this is a fun one. So, definitely do not stand here. Ready? So. Yeah. Do not stand near the back end. So, do not position tank near the back of the donut. Sorry that my notes are a little out of order. Like I said, this is more of a fun section. We can see how dangerous this is. It's a very bad idea. And this has happened to me in like a solo run or a duo run. It was not fun. Let's see. Do not... Okay, if you wanted to know what happens when you don't blind, do not forget dark vision. That's pretty good too, but do not forget to blind Myrkul. So the range attacks means he frightens more, and the reaction attacks means if you're trying to heal, you're gonna probably take another hit, and you're not gonna have a good time. Here's the range attack. You're gonna get frightened, and it's more than likely gonna be the guy who's not dedicated to take that on. It's really not that good, not that fun. Okay. And then, let's see, if you're not near him, ooh, I like this one. All right, so, do not leave the donut empty in phase 2. This is what happens. So if we do, we need one melee target. Otherwise, if there's nobody up there, here's what happens. Whee! Oh, he's active. Okay, so, like I said, here's what happens. Call of the Dead. So if you're not up there, he'll make you up there. He'll pull everybody in. But if we had one melee character up there, that wouldn't happen to us, and we wouldn't be setting ourselves up for danger. All right, that's pretty much what it is. That's pretty much the Myrkul fight, yeah. So, like I said, let's just go over these one last time. Don't let the minions near Myrkul, or otherwise he's going to heal. Don't engage Ketheric on the donut, unless you have a dedicated reason to do so. Don't forget to blind Myrkul. There's way too much advantages for that. Do not forget the guaranteed hitter. This guy should always go first on phase 2 every single turn. And then do not forget about dark vision. Seriously, this can screw up humans or Gith characters. Do not position the tank near the back of the donut. I showed you end up going flying. And then do not leave the donut empty. You're going to get pulled toward anyway. Otherwise, do not try to heal near Myrkul. You're just going to get bone chilled, so you need to step out of the arena like we showed you a few times. So basically, some fun notes. I will say some real quick notes on this fight. Protection from good and evil can actually stop a dedicated character from being frightened. More than likely, they won't get frightened if they're concentrating on this or somebody else is concentrating on this, because Myrkul is an undead. Also, I really highly recommend taking a high strength character into the fight. If your team already has one for the heavy hitter, you could just throw the minions in. You get extra value in there, and they don't turn into those incubation egg things. There's also Bone Chill from Doomhammer. Okay, I do have to shout out the Doomhammer. If you want to bring in a big strength character, this thing is what I was talking about earlier. It's going to cause 2 turns where Myrkul really can't heal anyway, and to me it's a bit of a cheesy strategy. And hey, what if you forgot the Doomhammer one run, or you're not trying to cheese the fight for a little bit? But I do want to shout it out. This is a great hammer. It really makes the fight a lot easier, so you could use the strategy we were talking about and have half the work from no heals. Isabel's buff also ends up granting resistance to necrotic, but like I said, I wanted to show you without that. So if you save Isabel successfully, you'll have a big advantage in this fight, especially for that guy who's dedicated to taking the frighten hits. So Aelin also can tank smites, but we kind of went over that with the core strategy. Otherwise, you really should have a dedicated character. And Calm Emotions is another underrated spell that people won't recommend, and yet it could really save your butt in this fight, because again, it has the ability to block being frightened or charmed. So this could really just be great by casting, the cleric could cast it on the dedicated guy to bait out the reaction attack, and then you don't even have to worry about being frightened, and they can go all in on attacks. Air Elemental, though, is probably my one amazing advice to you. If you're going into this fight, grab a character that can have air, Conjure Elemental at level 9, like Druid or Wizard or whatnot. Otherwise, try and steal one off of a merchant that has it. This thing is so good. Air Elemental is one of my favorite elementals. Anyway, I'm done gushing. This is all from what I know, playing a bunch of honor runs on older videos in the streams for you guys. You guys commented and said, I want to see a strategy guide. Builds are cool, but I want to know how to beat the game with my own characters. So that's why I did it. We literally destroyed this guy with this strategy to the highest degree I've ever seen with Oops All Druids. Everything I'm talking about here was on steroids to the highest degree. It was too stupidly easy. I even did the whole double lightning thing, but that's after I set up how easy we set it up here, just on crack. Like, 4 druids is stupid. So come watch the stream, because we do silly stuff like that. Otherwise, we're trying out new builds you guys are recommending or I want to try. And just ask in the comments of the chat. If you don't get something, I love answering stuff. The whole point of this video is you're my sponsor, and I want you to play honor mode, the highest difficulty, because it's really not that hard, and you can beat it with any character you want. So I appreciate you so much for watching, and really, if you want to support the channel, you've already done enough, but I would really like you to join the members. It's $1 a month on YouTube, and I'll be having more features coming out, and I'll actually put up the demo on my channel as well. So if you just wanted to watch that fight again, I'll do that for you. But you guys have a great time. This was the battle guide to honor, or the honor mode battle guide to Apostle Myrkul, and I'll see you guys in the next one.